She cheated with my brother. I used to think betrayal was something that happened to other people, that kind of soap opera, knife-in-the-back drama you only saw in movies or heard about in hushed voices from someone else's friend. I never thought I'd be the one standing in the wreckage, trying to breathe through the dust of everything I thought I knew. My name is Logan. I'm 31. And up until 6 months ago, my life was simple, solid, maybe even happy. I lived in a quiet coastal town called Grey Rock, Oregon, the kind of place where everyone knows your name, where the mornings smell like sea salt and pine, and where I thought I was building a life that meant something. I had been with Madison for 4 years. She was magnetic, warm, the kind of woman who lit up a room without trying. She was beautiful, yeah, but it was more than that. She got me. She laughed at my dumb jokes. She cried with me when I lost my dog, Buster. She talked about kids and road trips and building a house with a garden and chickens and all that sweet, ordinary stuff that somehow means everything. And then there was my brother, Nate. 3 years younger, wilder, a little rough around the edges. We'd grown up close, battling in backyard football games, sneaking out to stargaze with sandwiches and sodas. Even as adults, we stayed tight. He lived just 2 towns over in Westford, working freelance construction jobs. I trusted him like I trusted gravity. I didn't see it coming, not even a flicker. It started with small things, doesn't it always? Madison started working late more often. She'd come home exhausted, drained. She'd crawl into bed without the soft kiss goodnight she always gave. I'd chalked it up to stress. We were house hunting, talking about engagement rings, trying to plan for the next chapter. I figured maybe it was getting to her. Then Nate started showing up more. At first, it made sense. He was between jobs, said he needed a change of scenery. I'd always told him he could crash in my guest room if he needed to. "Just a few weeks, man," he said, flopping his duffel onto the floor with that same goofy grin he'd had since we were kids. "I'll help around the place." Madison was friendly. Of course she was. She brought him coffee in the mornings. They laughed about stupid TikToks over breakfast. She even made him pancakes on Sundays. I remember smiling to myself, thinking how lucky I was to have these 2 people, my favorite people, in my life. God, I was blind. There was one night, I can still see it if I close my eyes. I came home late from a client meeting. The lights in the living room were dim, and I heard low voices. I assumed they were watching TV, so I went to the kitchen to grab a beer. That's when I heard it. Madison laughed, but not her usual laugh. It was quieter, almost nervous. Then Nate said something I couldn't catch, but her response stopped me cold. "Stop. What if Logan hears?" My stomach twisted. I stood there, frozen, my hand still on the fridge handle. A second later, they both went silent. I walked in like nothing happened. They were sitting on opposite sides of the couch, a movie playing on low volume. Madison looked up at me like nothing was wrong. Nate smirked. I told myself I misheard, that it wasn't what I thought, that they'd been planning a surprise party or some crap. That night, I didn't sleep. Over the next few weeks, things started to unravel. Madison was colder, distant. Nate was always conveniently out when I got home. The easy warmth between them became something I couldn't quite name, like a current humming beneath the surface. I started checking little things. The laundry. Why were some of Nate's shirts ending up mixed with hers? Her phone always face down. One night I picked it up just to see the time and saw her swipe it out of my hands with a speed that made my heart stutter. "You don't trust me?" she asked. I didn't answer. I didn't want to admit what I already knew. Then, one afternoon, I opened Nate's backpack while looking for a screwdriver. I found a receipt from a motel on the other side of town. A single room, paid for in cash. From 3 days ago, the same night Madison said she was working late. I didn't confront them right away. I needed more. I needed to know because some part of me still hoped, still begged, that it wasn't true. I called in sick the next Thursday, told them I had the flu. I waited until both Madison and Nate left. She said she had a work retreat, and Nate said he was heading out to visit an old buddy in Portland. But I knew where they'd be. I drove to the motel, waited, watched. When I saw them step out together, his hand on the small of her back, her head tilted up to him, smiling like she used to smile at me, something inside me cracked. They didn't see me. I waited until they drove off. Then I went home, packed a bag, sat on the porch with my keys in hand, shaking so bad I nearly dropped them. I texted them both the same message: "Don't come back." They tried, of course. Madison came back first, banged on the door, cried, shouted through the window. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. Nate texted some half-assed apology 2 days later. "Didn't plan this, bro. It just happened. I love her." I didn't respond. How could I? How do you respond when your entire foundation has been ripped out from under you? For weeks, I barely left the house. I drank more than I should have, stared at old pictures, replayed conversations in my head, wondering how I didn't see it sooner, wondering if I ever really knew them at all. One night, maybe 3 months later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Beth. Beth was Madison's cousin. We hadn't talked in ages, but she'd always been kind, sweet. I remembered she used to visit every summer when we first started dating. "I didn't know if I should call," she said, her voice hesitant, "but you deserve to know." "Know what?" I asked, already exhausted. "It wasn't just Nate," she said. "Madison, she was seeing someone else too, before him, for almost a year." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Who?" I asked. Beth hesitated. "Your friend, Caleb, from college. She used to visit him when she said she was going to yoga." Caleb, one of my oldest friends. We'd lost touch, but he'd been a groomsman in my best friend's wedding. We'd once spent an entire summer backpacking Europe together. I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it, but it made too much sense. The subtle lies, the secrecy, the distance that had started long before Nate ever showed up. I hung up the phone, sat in the silence, realized I didn't just lose a girlfriend and a brother. I'd lost my entire past. I moved out of Grey Rock a week later, packed my things, sold the house, left no forwarding address. I couldn't stay. Every corner of that town felt poisoned. I settled in a cabin near Mount Rainier, took a job doing remote freelance editing. I hiked a lot, chopped wood, tried to remember who I was before them. Sometimes I still hear from people, mutual friends asking if I'm okay. Madison tried emailing me. Nate, too. They're still together, apparently. I don't care, or at least I tell myself that. It's been 6 months. I still have nightmares. Still wake up some mornings expecting to see her beside me. But I also breathe easier. There's peace in solitude, in starting over. I go days without thinking about them. Then suddenly I'll remember something. Her laugh, his stupid jokes, and the grief returns like a punch to the chest. But it's different now. It doesn't own me. I think that's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your identity. Makes you question every memory, every instinct. But I'm learning to rebuild. One quiet, painful, deliberate day at a time. If you're hearing this and you've been through something similar, if someone you loved turned out to be someone else entirely, I want you to know you're not alone. You're not broken. And what they did to you says everything about them and nothing about your worth. I don't know what love looks like anymore. I don't know when I'll trust again. But I know this. I survived. And sometimes that's enough.
Well, guess sometimes betrayal clears the path for freedom. Good for you.
It's brutal, but at least the trash took itself out. Anyone who betrays you like that doesn't deserve your tears.
I don't know, something feels off. All three closest people turning like that?